Hey folks, welcome back. This is Lucid, and I am joined by Maryland.
Howdy, guys. Welcome back. Welcome back to me.
Yes, it's tournament finals, turn 26, and it's basically just been constant chaos. And I feel like we're about to start a new era of chaos as a coalition against Jotunheim, who is by many metrics in position one at the moment, is about to start.
So, shall we do that little summation again?
Sure. Yeah, you wanna have a shot at it?
Ind is dead.
Not end.
Sorry, Naba.
Naba,
I
yeah.
have I have a problem mixing those two up. Um, Naba is dead. Pythium really has nothing left except, the end of his defense.
Well, we've got a
And
battle in Pythium. We'll see how that goes.
there we go. And then Bandar Log is down to the desperate defense of his capital. So that's four players more or less out of the running.
Right.
We've still got the situation that the two top runners, in my view, are Pangaea and Jotunheim. Pangaea really isn't threatened by anything at the moment, and that's a really interesting thing.
Yeah.
Jotunheim has a number of threats, and he knows about them, and he's in two wars, kind of oddly, as we've discussed. And then we've got a number of other people saying we're about to start, I would say, phase two of the Grand War.
Right.
People that have quietly sat there and built up. Ashdod just got freed up by finishing off Naba. So I think you're right that the chaos is about to exponentially jump up with a whole bunch of new wars of the remaining 12 players.
Right. And
That's kind of my summation.
yeah, I think that's a pretty good summary. Yeah, to add to it, the new wars, they're going to be Jotunheim. A bunch of people going in against them, Pelagia and Vanheim probably. And then the other new war is going to be a coalition against Zabalba between Ashdod and Uruk.
There was also the mention, I believe it was Ashdod.
Oh,
There was one other that was
the End and Agartha thing that's starting now too.
right. The End and Agartha thing, and we discussed that we thought that was a tough matchup.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so a message has arrived from Vanheim. Got another Elder Dwarf. No luck with unique heroes or gold events, but at least my income is pretty good now. I've made a nap 3 with Ulm and decided to attack Jotunheim. As his armies are a bad matchup for mine, especially if I cast Strength of Giants and I want that throne.
Okay.
It won't be a surprise attack, as he has asked me for a nap last turn. Me remaining silent would have just told him that I was going to attack anyway. So I tried to negotiate the throne and the two nearest provinces from him. He refused, so my attack will come this turn. It'll be interesting to see if he defends with that.
We had quite a bit of talk about, options that Jotun has to defend, but I generally do agree with Vanheim, the player here, that it's a good matchup for him.
Right. Unless Jotunheim has a way to cheese it with Scrotty, which is always a thing. But
yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Right.
I mean, he demonstrated.
But he does. The thing is, Jotunheim doesn't have enough mages in that part of the world because he just took it from Mictlan that he can do any kind of mage defense, and his troops are a bad troop matchup for Vanheim. So
yes, yeah.
My site searching luck has been really bad so far. So far, my only my earth income is decent. No air sites. Trading a dwarven hammer for a thistle mace with Pan.
So this is interesting. This is middle age, so we're looking at, I believe, 40% magic sites is the default settings.
That's for late age. I think it's 50 for middle.
And can we just glance at the game settings?
Sure.
Because this is the second person to say they're a little iffy on their
50.
Oh, it's 50. Well, then this is just oddball luck. Now, there is the relationship between what paths you have to search with and what terrain you end up with.
Right.
But if we quickly look at the gem graph, we have some nations have wonderful gem income.
Right, like Satis got great gem income.
Well,
Pelagia got good. Utgard got pretty good. Vanheim, though, is very low. He and Ulm are both actually very low.
But for Pelagia to have good income is just a very sensible thing, because Voice of Tiamat is, in my opinion, the most efficient gem searching in the game.
Right.
You know, searching for 4 kinds of sites in a place where those 4 sites are very common for 8 gems a pop. That's
well, except the air. I was actually looking at the tables the other day. Apparently, the odds of finding an air site underwater are extremely low. Like it almost doesn't count as a gem type underwater. It's that bad.
But the funny one for me has always been that fire is relatively common underwater.
Yeah, fire's not that hard to get.
No.
Okay, so yeah, let's look at these battles here. So we've got a battle.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, this makes sense. If you don't know what he's coming with and it's a bunch of glamored elves, you kind of want to see what he's bringing.
Sure, but this is not a battle. This is just a route.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all those Valkyries. How many Valkyries?
Yeah. So this would be the kind of thug that would do okay against Scrotty, but I say okay, and this is one of the reasons, because I've tried thugging against Scrotty with these Van Jarls before, and the problem is you're like, okay, we're gonna get through protection. Scrotty aren't really protection-based thugs; they're like regen-based thugs, and they'll do liquid body, and so you're like, oh, we're hitting for 30 damage. No, you're not hitting for 30 damage. You're hitting for like 10 damage. Because it's going to get against like 15 protection, which is going to get the 15 protection. Sure, it's a shorter sharpness, so it's going to get cut down to, to 7. So it's going to be 22, but then that gets divided in half, and then now it's an 11 damage attack.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, liquid body applies before protection. The 50% reductions apply before they roll against protection.
Oh, I thought it was after, but somebody in the comments will know.
Well, that's a great question, but
it would. I know I'm pretty sure it has to be after. Otherwise, fortitude and stuff would be completely broken. You know, like the bless.
The dancing shield is quite amazing. But then that
is after. That's after. But liquid body isn't dancing shield. Liquid body isn't protective force.
No, it's all 3 resistances.
Right. I'm pretty sure the weapon resistances like blunt, pierce, slashing are before protection, and the protective force I'm pretty sure is after. Because if you think about it, otherwise it would be broken. Because then if you cut your damage in half and then you had to roll up against 20 protection, you would never do any damage.
I've got a interesting comment related to this. Oh, shoot. I lost it there while we were talking, but just look at that thug again for a second.
Okay, I'm going through and looking at all of them. We've got a Vanadrat here who's got a great sort of sharpness.
Okay, chop.
Chop. These are very important to bring, and this is the guy we were looking at before, to bring with this army so that you're less likely to get murked by a Scrotty. These guys will do kind of okay because they've got magic weapons. That means the hoofs. Yeah, this would be kind of hard to tank as a Scrotty. A Scrotty with a vine shield. I think you would need basically a full kit Scrotty.
So an interesting question is, did Jotun do any blood hunting?
Yeah, we've already seen a flesh eater before.
Okay, so an interesting option for Jotun, which would be an ugly thing for Vanheim to deal with, would be a Blackheart Scrotty.
Yeah, but there's enough commanders here that it's...
Yeah.
I mean, it would matter, but it probably wouldn't matter a ton.
Okay, just an interesting comment I was just thinking of as I was looking at that layout, going, a couple of them could survive a Blackheart Scrotty, but...
Yeah.
So I'm just guessing from what you just showed. Oh. This is Vanheim?
Oh, it looks like he assassinated all the commanders here.
Is that a Blackheart Zots?
No, there must have been another... My guess is there was a Blackheart Jarl or something that was in here assassinating stuff.
Maybe. It's too bad we can't see those.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. That would be a useful thing to see.
But it's a nice province.
That's the second turn in a row where we've had one of these, just basically a scout.
Yeah, and especially like once Pangaea gets in his next war where there's going to be a lot of dryads, there's going to be a whole layer to the game we're missing out on, which is all the assassin battles. So that just is how it's going to be.
Yeah. Oh, well.
But we don't see too much else. Now, it's very possible that Vanheim has some stealthy stuff. But I don't know. This is all we can see right now. So I don't know if there's too much more to talk about for Vanheim.
Well, so far, the only thing I wanted to comment on is it looks to me like Jotun just decided not to keep his troops in there.
Yeah, it does look like he pulled out.
And we agreed that his troops were not going to make a matchup. So he's going to let the fort do its own thing empty and then deal with it later if he can.
Yeah, maybe put a Scrotty into it. I mean, honestly, him letting go of 3 provinces, like if all Vanheim wanted was these 2, and if he could have given these up to get a long nap with Vanheim, I think that's still okay. Like, especially if he doesn't think he can hold it. It matters. So much of it matters whether he thinks he can hold it. If he wipes this Vanheim army, like let's say he has a fully kitted Scrotty, which by the way, he could maybe get like trade if he trades for good armor with Ulm.
But there's an interesting thing here. Vanheim, in order to siege this down quickly, has heavily committed to that siege.
Yeah.
So my argument would be that as Jotun, if I was Jotun, I think I agree with his decision. I think I very much agree with his decision. Just let it go and negotiate for it later.
Yeah. But I guess this is what I'm saying, is that if I were him, I would prefer to buy a peace by voluntarily giving up provinces and having a non-aggression pact. Because right now, Jotunheim has too many enemies. Mm-hmm. Right? So give up like these 3, which was the offer, in exchange for a longish non-aggression pact. You know, like a NAP 5 or something.
Sure.
Like, if he doesn't think he can hold it, don't do that. Don't do like a half measure where you pull your stuff out, but don't agree to peace.
There was another comment I was going to make. That's a growth throne, right?
Right.
Well, every turn that he holds it is useful.
Yeah.
So you could argue that at least propping up the walls a little bit, although not.
Yeah, I think that's like a sub-optimization though. And it's something I catch myself doing a lot, where I'll think something like, oh, God, I really want this province, and I'm going to go to war with this player to have it. Like, I don't care about war with this player, I'll have it. But, like, the province is a distraction. Like, having 1 or 2 provinces is a distraction, where if you're in a war that will be bad, like, that is the big important thing. Like, being in the right wars is so much more important than any specific province.
Okay, I agree with you.
Now, you have to be careful because you don't just want to get arbitrarily bullied. But this is not just arbitrarily being bullied. Jotunheim is in having everybody about to attack him potentially.
And that's a very extended position. Holding that throne is at the extreme limits of what he can hang on.
It's at the extreme limits. He's just taken Mictlan, so he has almost no mages down here. And his troops are a bad matchup against the Vanheim troops. So he just is... I think you give this up. Or unless the thing is, all it takes is, I think it's a nature Scrotty that does, that has fluffers that are going to do enlarge and regen on him. And he's going to have a full kit of gear from Ulm, including shock resistance. And a nature Scrotty with the right gear and a flesh eater and a coral sword could probably be regenning like 20 something a turn.
Yeah. And we discussed how he has already demonstrated he knows how to build a turn timer thug.
Right.
Deliberately just hang on until the end of the round. And he did a superb job of doing that against Satis.
Right. And
so he's got some options to... I would say he's not going to win against Vanheim at the moment.
No, if he had that Scrotty, he would win. If Vanheim gets this army routed and loses 30-something units in the process,
That's a huge win.
It would be a huge win. I mean, he would be set back. So, because this is almost all of his stuff. Like, he would be.
No, he's totally committed.
Yeah, you paste a screenshot of that army getting like halfway killed and routed. You put that in game chat.
Yeah.
Like, every smart player that neighbors him would be like, okay, let's go eat him.
How many Van Jarls is there in there? Or Van Herses, sorry.
3 and then 2 Vanadrots.
Okay,
and 4 Van Jarls.
58 Vans. Man, I got to do a calculator for this. Times 55, right?
65.
Jesus, that's almost 4,000 gold committed to that.
Yeah.
Good God.
Well, and then the Valkyries too, which are 45 gold apiece. This is like a 10,000 gold army. So
that's everything he probably ever bought
yeah.
in the entire game.
If he can cheese this with 1 scrotty, it's basically all over. Now, he does have Strength of Giants on the Dwarven Smiths, which will help against scrotty some, but still, I'm pretty confident that you can make a scrotty that can kill this.
Now, I've got you a question for you, and here's what I'm thinking. If I was sitting here as Vanheim right now, what I would now do is split it into 5 or 6 little independent raiding parties.
Yeah. Well, he could. There's only 2 provinces to attack, but yeah.
So maybe just split off a couple of them.
Well, we've got a message from Jotunheim, so let's see what Jotunheim is saying about all this. Dogpile incoming. Oops. Did not think Pan would go for the throne with his sacreds. Should have had a scout there to see what he's got. Okay. So yeah, Dogpile is incoming. This is a mistake I make a lot, I don't know. Like, it is so, I hate selling off land sometimes. Like, I don't know. This is also very reasonable. In my opinion, giving these 3 provinces away is very cheap.
I think that's funny to hear you say that, because you're the one that kind of said to me, it's a really valid thing that I learned from someone else.
Yeah.
As a diplomatic option is just sell off for peace.
Yeah.
I did that in Bosmos just recently. I just sold off and said, okay, can I buy peace from you?
Right.
Is there something that would be acceptable to you? And they said, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's super valid. I think sometimes, though, especially if I think I can defend it, I get, like, if I felt I could defend this, I would be very salty about him attacking me, and I would defend it even out of spite. Like, if I knew I could.
Well, do you think you are generally an aggressive player or a defensive player?
I'm both. I don't know. It depends.
I tend to be a fairly defensive player, arguably, in that it's really, really hard to kill me.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, sometimes I'm awfully slow to turn on the aggression.
Yeah.
Sometimes I miss that timer. There's that magical timer, and it's never quite obvious, but there's that kind of magical moment when your opponent, or the one you think is a good target, is sort of overextended or weak, and
right.
I'll miss that by a little bit.
Yeah, I normally have a pretty good kill instinct where I'll go kill somebody when I feel like it's the right time. But on the other hand, I don't like overextending. Like, you could tell when we were casting this, Jotunheim has made me pretty uncomfortable at times by overextending.
Sure.
So I don't know. I think on one hand, there's a part of me where, like, selling off land, it bothers me because like, I shouldn't have taken land I didn't feel I could defend. You know, like, that's part of the thing that bothers me. But in this case, he's overextended. He can't defend it. He absolutely should sell it off. This is cheap.
Well, and I also struggle to be comfortable selling off after I've poured a pile of gold into infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because then I'm even more reluctant to try to buy a piece with it. If it's just a generic province and if it's just worth gold, and hopefully I haven't wasted a bunch of time site searching it.
Yeah.
Then I'm quite happy to sell it off, because you're going to have to pour the resources in, and I'll wait until you're distracted and take it back.
The other dimension to this, though, which is an incentive to sell off land, and, like, this would be the benefit of also getting peace with Vanheim rather than just letting him successfully raid you, is the coalition is diminished, right? Because, like, when people find out that Vanheim's not really attacking anymore, or that you have peace, which you don't even have to tell them. Like, you can have as a condition of you giving this stuff to Vanheim that you're not even going to tell people you made peace. People are going to figure out after not very long that you're at peace with Vanheim, which will mean, like, these other people in the coalition know they're going to have to fight a larger percentage of your military, and they're going to be less inclined to fight you themselves. So,
and that brings up a really good point. In one of my recent games, twice I broke NEPs. The other guy immediately said you could have some provinces for peace, but I did not.
Ended NAPs.
I did not agree to new NEPs, so I'm
Right.
free. My action is free.
Right.
I gained some provinces with no cost, 0 cost.
Yeah.
And no one else knows, so they don't know what I'm attacking next.
Right. All right, so we're talking about Jotunheim. Let's come up and look at this Vanarus stuff. We've got Vanarus moving in here. The same big mage core.
And did Jotun stay? He didn't.
No.
He just said, yeah, okay.
But we've got some spicy things happening. We've got Satis attacking Jotunheim.
Into the cold. Eagle eyes.
Look at that 15 encumbrance.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Wait, did I miss it? Did they just disappear?
Who? Oh,
What happened to his Marshmasters?
where'd they go?
Am I blind? Did they just disappear? Oh, wait. Oh, they moved forward.
Oh, advance and cast. Okay. No, they just advance and cast. Yeah, they're there.
Yeah.
Now you can see the messages.
Okay.
I think they did raise skeletons off script because
Yeah. They're probably
Oh,
set up to do Shadow Blast.
isn't that funny? Well done.
Tiny little raiding force here.
Well done.
Loses 3 Veti, an acceptable price. Can trace
they
income
came
from it, too.
They came from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he didn't go after this throne.
But now the throne's empty. Is there a fort going up?
No,
Okay.
not yet. I mean, he may start this turn, but
Oh, this is spicy.
there's a werewolf here. So he had a trap. Jotunheim set a trap up here for Satis.
I think Satis is
single-
making an error here.
What's
I
that?
really do. I think his error is he's now overexposed.
Yeah, he doesn't have much on this side. How do you mean overexposed? Just like on
He's
this
pushed
flank, or?
Well, he doesn't have a reserve army to hold his retreat paths.
Well, that's true.
And Jotun does have stealth thug potential.
I think the problem he's got is his troops are not good in cold by themselves. So he has to bring mages. His mages aren't great in cold, but you know, every time he commits an army, it's a major chunk of his research getting locked down because he's going to have to bring a fair amount of mage support, and he's just not making that many.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know.
I think it's a little bit there's a few problems that are compounding here. Like one of the problems, so his strategy was kind of a research rush strat, which is cool. You know, he's got Wailing Wind super early potentially. I think
With that crazy evocation pretender.
right. So it's cool, but you know, the downside of that is he's got to bring all of his mages for this to work because he doesn't have his advantage isn't having huge amounts of gold to spam out units. It's that he has mages with good research, so he's got to bring mages. And the problem with that is he's fighting. You know, the second problem is he's fighting into cold 3, which makes his units worse, his mages worse. So anything he does has to be even higher commitment. You know?
Well, you did a video on battlefield wipes.
Yeah.
And right now, there is a huge potential for Jotun to do a full wipe on that stack we just looked at.
Oh, yeah. Any fatigue play, which he's getting close to. Like, Jotun said they're going, I think, for Alt 5, and then they're going for Enchant 5. And enchant 6 is when you get the fatigue wipes. Like with, I mean, guys, rigor mortis and grip of winter versus Satis and cold.
Absolutely.
I mean, they will be all passed out by turn 4. It'll be ridiculous.
So speaking of his research, you mentioned, if you look at the research graph quickly, I saw the slope of Satis's research dip.
Yeah. This was when he moved the mage core out, and you can see it was
okay. So he has not been able to increase that slope. So
yeah, that means all the mages that are being made now are being sent to fight.
And Jotun is catching up.
Yeah. I feel like this strategy relied around this timing, like hitting this timing with Wailing Winds or something, and going and killing somebody. But this 3-way has messed it all up. Like, if he could have just rolled in here with Wailing Winds and some Skelly Spam and Shadow Blast and sat on Vanarus's capital, like, it could have worked.
Mm-hmm. But he attacked Jotun
right
on the way.
Yeah, he went for this throne. It was this throne. This throne is like it's like the Ring of Power or some other kind of MacGuffin that people just can't ignore.
Well, and he quit fighting Vanarus ages ago, but we have not heard anything about peace.
Right.
So, to the best that we know, that he's still at war with Vanarus, and yet, he started the war with Vanarus before he started fighting Jotun, and then he decided to make it a 1v2. From his perspective, we're not aware of Satis having any allies.
Yeah, it'll be
a 1v2 war there.
I really want to know what Diplo was here, because I feel like, like if Jotunheim was not feeling comfortable with parting with these provinces for Vanheim, it's very possible he's been similarly unreasonable with Satis and said, no, this is my war with Vanarus, you can't get involved. And in that case, if Jotunheim sticks to that hard position, that kind of explains everything else.
It could be, but he doesn't come across in his messages as being unwilling to negotiate.
Yeah.
But he does seem to be unwilling to negotiate.
Yeah, I think the other thing, too, he said he's not as experienced as some of the other players. Like, he's saying, I'm about to get attacked by Pan, who's a lot more experienced than me. He could be, I don't know, if you're not used to playing with very good players, you can probably it's more likely you can snowball out of control. Like, it seems like he's wanting to snowball out of control.
Well, I would make
it is very hard to do that in a game with experienced players, where you just expand literally as fast as you can into other players for the whole game, where you never pump the brakes.
Yeah.
I almost never see that working. But that's kind of what he's trying to do.
It does seem that way. But I would say that at the moment, we also see, if we're discussing Jotun, there has been no aggression from Pelagia yet.
Right. Well, they had a nap, so I think it has to tick down.
Oh, right.
I think they're waiting. And I don't know which turn it will be, but there's some hungry-looking fish in the pond. All right, let's move on to Ashdod. Naba cost about as much as expected. Didn't anticipate the soul contracts. Everyone else seems to get those but me. Yeah, I feel you there, brother. My over-under from testing was 13 anakites if we'd fought on top of the fort. Lost 21 with the unknown stuff inside. Seems about right. Note my prophet lost an army in the first volley, which interrupted divine blessing. Oh.
We missed that. They were not all blessed.
Well, they did it eventually on round 6 once he was off script.
Oh, gosh, that did cost him.
Yeah.
Oh, that was costly.
Should have scripted it again for redundancy. At the time, I didn't want to waste Sermon of Courages on Berserking Anakite, so I scripted Smite rounds 2 through 5. Yeah.
I think what we've got here, though, we watched that fight, and we saw excellent play by both players, and I don't think either one made blatantly obvious errors.
No.
But there was just limitations to what they could do. Limitations of the engine. You can't always know. If he didn't probe to be sure what was inside, that was his risk with blind storm. I almost never blind storm.
Oh, I do it all the time.
Yeah, well,
but I think you have to have stuff. Here's the thing with blind storming. Blind storming, where your plan is I'm going to charge through the gates with infantry, is very risky. That is one thing I learned. Like, it's a good check. Like, if you have a checklist for storming a fort, if your plan is to run through the gate with heavy infantry, like, you need to, I think that is the time you don't want to blind storm. You want to go inside, you want to see what they're doing, you want to make sure you've got a plan. But if you're going to be flying over the walls, if you're going to be summoning elementals, if you've got archers with flaming arrows that are going to be shooting stuff from behind, if you've got a big mage corps that's going to be blasting stuff that tries to clog up the gate on the enemy side, like, if you've got any of those things, you know, you may have a good enough idea about what's going to be in there to not ping. But
well, another part of my decision on blind storm is, am I threatened from another direction? If I'm not, why rush? If I am, then yes, it's worth the rush.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, if you have a unreliable ally sitting there with an army beside you that might attack you on top, whittle away some of your stuff, and you've stormed.
Yeah.
And it's a third, like 2/3 of what you intended to go in ends up going in, or if somebody has a chance to mess up your attack with something landing on top. But that generally always has to be a third.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't want to blind storm just because you're worried about some other, it could be the army from that player or a different army coming to fight you. Right. And you just want to have that fight first and then make up your mind whether you want to go in with the remnants or not. You don't want to, by default, say, I want to send the remnants of that first fight in no matter what. Correct. Yeah.
And especially in a coalition where somebody, you know, you're not entirely sure that your allies, even though they've agreed, you could siege that cap. You don't know. You can never know for sure that they might just not harass you with some annoying thing, like even something as silly as a simple cast of, well, those are later in the game, but say toss a horror on top of you.
Right.
I mean, that can mess your life right up.
Yeah.
Especially any of the gray flag neutrals, but there's only a few. There's horrors and ghost riders, but that's conjuration 9. But especially in late game, when there's always that potential that your ally could anonymously, you know, splash on top of you.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we've got an addendum here from Ashdod. Super top secret. It appears I am the luckiest man on Earth in real life. Screw Dominion's luck scales. Naba's cap is a desert like mine, but lo and behold, it's also a garnet Amazon province. All hail the secret blood power that is Ashdod, who happens to get some mighty fine blood summons. I need to keep this secret. I need to keep this so secret it hurts. A whiff of this before I mass produce some seer or shed will instantly attract a war I don't want.
Well, he's got 30 days safety on the publish.
Yeah, well, people in the game have already figured it out by this time, so I know we're not going to be spilling any secrets. I think if he wants to be super top secret about it, he actually needs to make some of the glamour items, or like the mirror of false impressions that reduces army size. Because as soon as he makes a garnet sorceress, people will figure it out.
By the way, those work a great deal better on giant nations or expensive elite nations like Vanheim.
Right.
Because a reduction of 50 units or an increase of 50 units when it's giants is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot more gold.
If you're Ulm and you're running around with great big huge armies of 300,
right,
a 50 reduction isn't that significant.
Right, but here where it's mostly just, you know, like obscuring the mages and then maybe obscuring the first pack or two of Seir.
I don't use those very often, but I have used them, and they definitely, or I almost like the one that makes your army look bigger better.
Yeah, that's the effigy of war.
Yeah, if you go to a little tiny raiding army and you want to make it look threatening,
right?
You know, one of those can be an interesting thing.
Okay, so what does this mean for me? Obviously, Seir Shed But my decision to go for A4 on my god looking mighty fine right now. Raven Feast on a blood hunting nation with good death spells. Tasty. Let's just hope I can keep this in my back pocket and not be forced to show it.
Raven Feast is such a funny spell.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to do the math on that.
It's worth it, for sure. The problem is it's hard to cast. You have to be Air 4. And there's just not a lot of Air 4 mages in the game, and the boosters to get up to Air 4 are all expensive.
Yeah.
But if you have an Air 4 mage, it's great.
Well, and if you plan to trash somebody's capital with Black Death, then it's stunningly good.
Yeah.
It's just, if you're just doing sort of generic killing or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting spell. It's just, you don't
but
see
with,
it used.
I've been using it a fair amount lately. With 100 corpses, which is a very reasonable amount to generate in a pretty heavily blood-hunted province every other turn. Yeah, you'll get 6 gems. So
pretty good alchemy.
Right. You're basically getting 2 death gems for every air gem you spend.
Yeah, that's good alchemy.
Yeah.
So do you do it on your own provinces?
Yeah, if you're blood hunting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if there's a bunch of things you can use it in combination with, like Flames from the Sky later in the game. You take out somebody's army, turn them all to corpses.
Sure.
And then, like you said, Black Death or whatever is pretty good too.
Yeah.
But
the nation I actually like it the best with, oddly enough, I think it's Man, and they get the stealthy death mages. So you can actually see how many corpses before you cast.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I believe that's the one.
Yeah, they do. The judges, yeah.
Yeah. So if you stick one of those in there, and he's sitting there spying away or whatever he's going to be doing, that's a great opportunity for it. The other one is it's not an unreasonable case for buying a few specters.
Yeah.
They're pricey and they have some other, great uses, but.
So interestingly, we do not see a Garnet Amazon yet. So it may be that he's trying to obfuscate this by.
He would have had to go to the temple first, doesn't he?
No, the other ones are not sacred. Yeah.
Slab only. Okay.
So he might be trying to obfuscate this by just having a lot of units here.
Yeah, but we would only, because he's got the 8 on there, we probably wouldn't see the Garnet Amazon.
Right. So that's another strategy to obscure how long he. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. But he should be moving to help with these guys, but we don't see much movement over here.
Well, there was the Bakemono.
But they're still hanging out, yeah.
And he's got some more Bakemono, but he's also got that army just southeast of where you are.
Right.
What is that?
Bunch of slingers.
And Raphaids.
Which honestly makes sense. If he's got flaming arrows, these slingers are going to be very good against... they're going to be good against Skelly Spam. They're going to be good against the Muke.
He might just be keeping them out of easy visibility by staying off the border.
Yeah.
Because if he's going to time this to fit with his ally, he needs, 2 more turns now, because that was an NAP3 that you broke. So keeping them just out of sight, although why there and not in the fort, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Oh, unless they came from the swamp just south of it.
Yeah, but I think this is interesting. It's something you don't see a lot of, but I think for Ashdod, for a Fire Nation that appreciates some siege chaff, and they're going to have easy access to flaming arrows, slingers are not bad.
With flaming arrows? No, not at all.
And their upkeep, they're slaves, I believe, so I think they have really low upkeep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, they're almost upkeep free. They have the upkeep of a 3 gold unit.
Right. Yeah, it's a good call.
2 gold a year?
That's insignificant.
Yeah. Without flaming arrows, hot, stinking garbage. With flaming arrows, not bad.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Not bad.
I'm just really interested in the play with the Bakemono. I think that is quite interesting because he's doing it with the Bakemono chief, so those are probably hidden.
Yeah.
And Zib won't know that's sitting there waiting to go do a little quick rating.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I've had Bakemono used against me so many times. People get them and I fully get it. They're size 1. They've got spears that hit pretty hard. I've just killed so many of Bakemono raiding squads that have done so precious little damage to me. I don't know what it is. Like, in concept, in theory, I absolutely get it. I've just killed so many of them. Like, all it takes is one fire elemental summoner, like 1 or 2 air elemental summoners, and your 60, 70 Bakemono go poof. But anyway, we'll see.
I'm just looking forward to seeing this play.
Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be cool.
I'm looking forward to seeing this play.
We're getting to the fun part in the game. The fun part in the game is when people are starting to get cool research, but nobody has everything, so they've got hard decisions to make. We're going to start seeing cool thugs coming out. We can start seeing some really cool things people are doing with mages. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Ooh. Well, a pestilence over here. Oh, we knew about that. He was complaining about marching his dudes through here. Yeah.
But he had to go around it and go
through the swamp. Yeah.
Yeah. He talked about that earlier. I remember that.
All right. So let's move on to Zabalba. Uruk ended nap with me, so going to start fighting him on turn 29. Okay, good. So we know exactly what turn it is.
Yeah. We knew that was coming. So do you see any significant... Oh, for Zib, there's a little fight on Pythium's cap of some kind.
All right, let's see what's happening here. Okay, the Chad Scout coming out, seeing what he's got to go up against. What do we have? We have some Zots here that are going to probably mess up buffing. We've got a few Blood Slaves, which I presume are going to be for imps.
But that's not a huge army. He's playing it cautious. It would be my way of looking at that. He doesn't want to overcommit there.
Right.
He's got all the time in the world.
Yeah.
You probably know that Pythium has no troops left, no way to recruit, basically no magi left. He can't even be summoning inside.
Right.
So he could take his time.
He can, but he also it would be nice to have this done before the thing with Uruk starts. But
I just learned about that.
Right. Okay, has Barb's attack here. That's a little annoying for him.
Seriously. I'm curious to know. Oh, have a look down at his pond he took in the middle of Uruk. He's bought a whole pile of the...
It's the shipwreckers.
Oh, she got shipwreckers.
Yeah, that's going to be annoying.
That's a threat. That's a threat.
Yeah.
Now, he has to keep them, though, because he bought them early, so he's going to have to renew. So Uruk has the possibility of buying them off him.
Yeah.
Well, renew is half the price of buying, so... And they're just... Right now, they're
yeah. They're very likely to get their money's worth back from them in raiding, so...
Well, you know my comment about the Admiral Mahan, I think, and his fleet and being concept, and how in some ways I think Dominions is more like a naval game. This is a fleet and being. This is like the Germans keeping their big fleet during World War II, sitting there on the edge of...
Oh, right, yeah.
This is a threat of what it could do, not necessarily what it will do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It threatens 6 provinces of Uruk on a continuous basis.
Yeah.
That's significant from a strategic initiative point of view.
Yeah, let's take a look at these nations here. I want to get a sense of how we see this matchup going for Zabalba and
And leave on Ind, I think.
Well, they're not involved in this, are they?
Yeah, wasn't. Oh no, Ashdod, not Ind.
Oh, Ashdod. That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay.
So provinces, they're all about equal.
Okay.
Forts, Ashdod is way lower.
Okay. Well, Yeah.
But they're giant forts, and their units are more expensive.
I think that's only 2 lower.
Income, they're all equal. Gym income, Zabalba's way ahead of the rest.
Sure is. That's probably water.
Research, Ashdod is way behind.
Yeah.
Uruk is first and picking up. Like the slope on Uruk is probably 40% bigger than the slope on the bats. Dominion, they're about the same. Army size.
Well, they're very similar. And Ashdod, look at how much Ashdod has ramped his army production up.
Right, a lot of this is these slingers. And I think this slinger timing is going to be great. I really do. I haven't seen it a ton, but it just makes a lot of sense to me.
This is a interesting matchup. If it remains just a 2v1,
yeah,
Zabalba's in deep trouble.
Another thing I want to say about these slingers, the fact that Anakites are going to have fire resistance and shields means that slingers with flaming arrows have almost no chance to damage Anakites. So you have very little risk of friendly fire.
I see what you're getting at. The friendly fire is all but non-existent.
Right.
Excellent point.
And they'll just cover the field with basically flaming piles of poop. And
And I don't think Zabalba has almost any way whatsoever at this point in time with research to put up some fire resistance.
Yeah.
Because he's got to get all the way to Alteration 8 for Warriors of Muspelheim.
Yeah.
The water one.
Well, there's the Fire 5 one. Like this thing you can do.
But he doesn't have hardly any. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah. But it's not great either. So
the problem with it is AoE is small, the casting cost is moderately high, and you've got to do some serious fiddly diddly with your army setup to get it to hit.
Yeah.
Is he using Winter Wolves? He is.
Took out these barbs with him.
I don't see them very often.
I don't know if he's got I think he might have a sight for them.
Could be. Yeah, you should have got, I think, 15 for a single cast, so that's a pretty small number. Maybe, no, it's not 15, but...
they were pretty effective here, though. I guess they have a... Oh, Frost Breath. Area of Effect 1. I didn't know about that.
Frost Breath? Frost Breath? Oh.
That's pretty good.
They do really well if you give them any kind of a protection buff, like Protect or Bark Skin or, anything easy peasy.
How much do these guys cost? They seem pretty darn good.
15 for 5, plus they scale. 8 for 5.
8 for 5.
Okay. Oh, and that's one cast.
That doesn't seem, I think exactly what you said. If you're able to get them a protection buff, this doesn't seem like a bad value at all.
No, most of those ethereal seasonal summons have certain solid uses.
Yeah.
And stacking chill auras is very, very effective.
Yeah.
That's
what you and I were talking earlier about, how you balance a game and how much things get used and a lot of things don't get used. I feel like there's so much room in this game for, people get stuck in tracks of like, this is how you play. And it's always interesting seeing people do other things, Well,
I'm notorious for being stuck. I mean, one of my classic problems is I try to use a tactic that used to work in Dominions 3 or 4.
Right.
Because I've forgotten how much has changed. It's very easy to do that. And just, if you're playing quickly rather than checking every turn very carefully, and you're just kind of playing intuitively, is kind of how I call it.
Yeah.
It doesn't change your basic strategic decisions. They remain much the same. I've noticed that I don't have any problems with the strategic decisions I make. But what I do is I forget to do little tidbits like taking advantage of the new real-time, semi-real-time nature of combat and the changes it makes to certain melee and certain archers.
But these could be excellent, Maryland. I mean, 6 chill aura, ethereal, and mindless, and they're not undisciplined, so you can buff them. I'm going to
And
challenge
8 of them.
myself to find the time when I can use these in a game and just sneak them into a formation.
Well, we just saw a wonderful use of them.
Yeah.
Take out a handful of barbarians.
Yeah.
Where they don't do well, and you've mentioned this before, is Ethereal's not wonderful against massed archers
Right.
because it just chips its way through.
Right.
Ethereal with 0 protection.
But I think you do want to find, if you're going to summon these, you probably want to find a way to get like wooden warriors on them, and you probably want to find an enemy that doesn't do fire damage and is not cold resistant. And if you find that and you can get a protection buff on them, these guys are probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Is this AP? Yeah, it's AP, 9 AP damage, area of effect. That's not bad.
No, they're solid.
Attack density is excellent. You're going to have 6 attacks per square.
8 gems to take out, a fairly good sized barbarian army with a little bit of chaff. That's cheap.
Yeah. So that was cool. Anything else for Zabalba?
Doesn't look like it. One thing.
Yes, sir.
If you look at that forest bordering Uruk, right, kind of central there, what's that army in there?
It's a long dead.
Longbowmen and jungle warriors with a Bacab.
I think that are these nope, those aren't mercs. Yeah.
Okay. So he's done a little bit of reanimation. The spell.
Yeah.
So some long dead.
And that could be a decider in some of this. Is one of the advantages that probably the only real advantage that Zabalba has is they've got a better gem income. So if they're leveraging that to get more chaff to bulk up their armies, that could be a deciding force in the fight.
And the long dead will not be significantly affected by the Misushu.
Right.
The ones after their fear comes up. So that's not too bad to keep your troops from running away.
Right. And, even if their whole job is just to be HP that's stuck on the field, they could get banished and stuff, but you can have them on guard commander and they're unlikely to get banished back there, and it'll make your army that's actually fighting less likely to rout. So.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. End. Getting everything in position for Agartha, I'm expecting to be a 2v1. The Agartha player had a Fish Nation last game and lost half his sacred stack in a 3v1 versus Naba this game, so I don't expect him to go 1v1. Although I'm not sure who the second player will be, Ulm or Zabalba.
See, we kind of know that there is no second player.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is busy.
But you and I were kind of having similar thoughts. Like, we were like, how was Agartha planning on doing this? Like, it didn't seem... I could understand if I were in, I'd be like, why does this make sense for Agartha?
Yeah, this is not a good matchup. Because I can, right off the initial comments, I could think of 2 very quality counters that Ind can roll up cheaply with generically available Magi. Protection buffs plus fire buffs.
Yeah. What's also funny in this is he said Agartha had a Fish Nation last game and lost half his sacreds in a 3v1 against Naba, which what he's saying is that the fact that he played a Fish Nation in the qualifiers is like a discredit to his skill level.
I don't think that's fair, but I understand his thinking.
Yeah.
One of the problems with Fish Nations, especially when there's only a single one allowed in these tournament games, is that it encourages a turtle strat, which is what we've watched Pelagia do.
Right.
It's turn 26, and Pelagia has made no offensive moves since he took those couple bits of land almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
He's just sat there. And that's a notoriously bad problem for Fish Nations when they don't have to fight another Fish Nation. So it encourages a bit of a very defensive, very infrastructure-based strategy.
Yeah.
You talked about effigies?
Okay, yeah, let's see. 127 is an important province, connects my lands northeast. We'll be trying to take it later. I'm also faking effigies' bigger armies to my northeast. There will most likely be a defense for 127. those will most likely be for defense, and 127. Okay, wait, so what is he talking about?
Okay, because his next comment was fascinating. 127. Well, type number sign. Sorry, shouldn't be giving orders.
Okay, 127 is important. That's this one.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Where is he doing the effigies?
Around his northeast.
Oh, northeast is this one. Okay, so he's faking army size here a bit. But he also does have a big army here. Like, this is what he brought up here to take this.
But that army doubled in one turn.
Yeah.
So that's probably effigies.
I don't really know the significance of that. Normally, I want to use effigies to make it pretend like I have an army guarding a flank, which I don't hardly ever do. I normally do actually have real armies, but if I were to use them, that's how I would.
I like to use them for like a little tiny army of say 10.
Yeah.
Make it look like 60.
Yeah.
Or is it plus 30 or whatever it is. But his next comment, quite significant. 30 mages and 120 sacreds. Plus crossbows and auxiliaries.
All right, so main thrust is probably west along the Ulm border. Want to threaten his cap from there. And then this is the part you're saying, 30 mages.
That is a very solid army.
Should be enough, and otherwise my build was bad and I deserve to lose.
So he can roll out 30 mages and not wreck his research. That's pretty impressive.
Well, his research... I've been in this position with End where I did a pretty major rollout, and it kind of fell flat when I did it. It felt really bad, because this is going to be a major slowdown to his research. But you have to do it. When you're playing End, your sacreds are good, but they're not good enough that you can roll out without significant mage support.
Yeah, I could see that. Can we look at the research graphs for a sec there to go along with that? Yeah.
All right, so we'll do the End Agartha thing here.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so
not bad.
Yeah, they're way ahead of Agartha right now.
He's in good shape.
Gym income behind Agartha. Army size behind Agartha.
Yeah, but...
Income behind Agartha. Forts behind Agartha. Province is a little behind Agartha. So he's winning in research, but that matters a lot. He's almost twice as far as Agartha.
Yeah, that's very well, and Agartha has all but flatlined.
But Agartha doesn't need that much. They need Conjuration 3, Construction 3, Enchantment 3. They probably have that.
Yeah.
And then maybe Conjuration 5 would be nice.
Well, if he had Umbrals,
yeah,
that can be a painful flanking force.
Yeah.
I've used it and dealt with it in the past.
Yeah.
But he's basically appears to have rolled out almost every mage, except for the few that aren't making magma kids.
Yeah.
So I would guess that Agartha is planning to have oracles doing smite, earth readers.
The thing, this is... Agartha has declared war on End. They're clearly looking like they want to attack. In my opinion, Agartha has two extremely predictable moves. They're going to consolidate forces here and here.
Sure.
And I think you just defend this. You do a PD dump, you bring all your mages, and you defend these two, and you defend this one. And once you kill an army, then you push in and kill Agartha. That's what it looks like to me.
It does. This is going to be very interesting.
And like you said, he got Alt 5, which means he can do... oh, shit, he needs Enchant 5 for Flame Ward. Yeah. So he doesn't have the fire resistance buff yet.
Not yet. But Alt 5 does give him some options, I think, for protection buff.
Well, I mean, Wooden Warriors... no, that's 6.
Marble 6. Okay.
That's oh no, it's 7.
7.
Yeah.
Well, he's got Iron Warriors.
No, but that's AoE 1.
Yeah. Takes a lot of magic.
But still, I mean, I don't think Especially
also
like
has-
archers actually kind of wreck magma children. So look, I don't know what
But
kind
he
of PD he has.
He also already has ethereal, and the Magra children are only a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's still just plain old infantry and plain old archers. So
Yeah.
ethereal is perfectly valid.
So we'll see. I mean, I think like not a huge PD dump, but a reasonable PD dump, supported by sacred, supported by a lot of mages doing smite and banishment and stuff, or just smite and mind burn maybe. Like a significant commitment here will potentially wipe both of these armies off if he can defend both tiles, which I think he should be able to. This one will be harder if he consolidates these two armies here. He might need like every mage from his capital.
And he did comment that his army to the farthest east, where he put the effigies, is sort of like I'm going to threaten that army in Agartha's fort, saying,
Right.
don't move out.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad call. Again, I'm going to repeat that fleet and being kind of idea. This is looking like a fleet and being concept.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Agartha can move here and force a fight. He can go this way. I think that's not... If I were the Agartha, I wouldn't march into a big army sitting behind PD. If I were Agartha and I thought I had a good matchup with End, which I do not think he has a good matchup, but if I did, which this Agartha player does, I would attack these two provinces.
The other reason I would attack those two provinces is because I'd want the Magma Kids in any of my aggressive offensive armies.
Right. So
Because
maybe the play from Agartha is actually camp here to threaten this, and then consolidate these two into an overwhelming force here.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And then from here, he's getting close to End's capital, He can push in here, and that's going to check this fort and End's capital. And then he starts making End make hard decisions.
Right.
So I don't know. Okay. No message from Agartha. We've kind of talked about this war. We've talked about this. Pangaea not seeing any movement.
No, he's playing his cards close to the chest.
Right. Waiting for the... God, this Silver Throne is going to be so good for him. Pangaea with a good air access. Whew. I think he has good fire access, too. He's got the Fire Throne here, or the...
Golden Order.
God. This is now like a Pangaea with almost every path. He's got blood. I don't know if he has death yet. But he's got air, astral, fire, earth.
He's in an excellent situation.
Yeah, it's becoming a very scary pan position. We talked about Uruk. We talked about Pelagia a little bit. They're just camping out. We haven't talked.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
All right.
That's a dangerous beast.
Yeah. Does this work underwater? Oh, it does. I forget about that. Oh, no. Wait, does it? I don't see the animation.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It doesn't. Just the Mace of Eruption.
Yeah.
But they can't really touch it. Oh, they did crack the mist form. Oh, and they afflicted it. That's a nuisance.
Wow. These guys are hard to tank. God. Oh my God.
They punch hard. That's 2 afflictions.
You can understand now why Uruk lost several thugs to this, because this guy's rolling in with 29 protection.
Yeah.
He's fatigue neutral. And he's getting wrecked.
That hurts. Those 2 afflictions are painful. They're not devastating, but the limp is rough.
Yeah, because it affects your map move, which is really painful.
Yeah.
And the combat speed minus half. I don't know if that affects how frequently you attack, but it might.
No, I don't think it has any effect on that.
Okay.
So that...
I don't know if that was worth it.
That was not a very cost-effective move.
Yeah. I would probably rather have him in here summoning air elementals.
Yeah.
I mean, especially at the cost of those 2 afflictions. Those are going to be hard to get off.
Yeah, that was a bit costly.
I tell you what, I would also be. God, look at these armies from Pangaea in position to Ulm. If I were Ulm, I'd be breathing real heavy.
Mm-hmm. We just happen to know that Pangaea appears to be committed to ganking Jotun.
Yeah.
Just because
maybe.
other people said that doesn't mean he has.
Yeah, I mean, there's
He
no
cannot do anything.
hard commitment at all. He's still got troops on all his other borders.
Exactly.
We'll have to see. Okay, and that's that. We talked this column. Has there been a movement? Did we talk Pythium already?
Just that
The scout.
Just that Zabalba is just fairly casually sieging that. He really hasn't committed.
Yeah, and I just realized we're at an hour too, so I think we've done our job.
I think we're over to briefly. There was something I just saw. Move to the west a little bit. Scan over there. Oh, Sitis. No, we talked about that.
Yeah.
When we talked about Jotun. I think we're finished.
I think we are. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us once again. Thank you, Marilyn, for joining me.
You are most welcome.
And we'll see you all next time.
Have a great day.